Now, if you're wondering if this is some special edition Miyoo A30 without a faceplate, it's not. My faceplate was halfway off, right out of the box, and I decided to just rip it out, as it just wouldn't stay down and I didn't want to glue it. Strap in. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be talking about the Miyoo A30. Just like my Anbernic RG28XX video, I'm going to put the disclaimer here right away in the beginning. Micro devices like this are just not for me. And this one is especially not for me, but we'll get into that. So if you're looking for a review that's maybe more tailored to your interests, that's micro focused, it's not going to be this one. In this video, you're going to get my thoughts as somebody who isn't really interested in these types of devices. This right here is the Miyoo A30, and it has a 2.8-inch 640 by 480 screen, which is 4x3, A33 CPU, 512 megabytes of RAM, 2600 milliamp hour battery. It's Linux, and it has Wi-Fi but no Bluetooth. This retails for about $50 US. Currently, it's out of stock from the Miyoo official store on AliExpress. But my friends at Go Game Geek sent me this device over for review. As usual, they have no input in what I say and they haven't seen this video ahead of time, but they do have stock in this and it looks like it's going to be shipping in June from what I understand. And you can use code JOEY for 15% off if you want to buy this at the end of the video. The very first thing that I noticed was the D-pad and buttons being thankfully normal. Sorry, Anbernic RG28XX. I have the Miyoo Mini, and I have the Miyoo Mini Plus here, and the A30's D-pad feels roughly about the same from what I can tell. On the other end, the buttons also feel the same as the previous Miyoo's, which, if there's a difference, I really couldn't tell. To me, as somebody who loves the Miyoo Mini Plus, that's a win on the controls front already. At least before we turn it on. There's a stick here for some reason, but we can kind of pretend that it doesn't exist. The shoulders are mushy feeling, not clicky, they're really kind of silent. The triggers are the same way as well. Overall, honestly, out of the box, this actually felt pretty good. In my hands and just holding it normally without turning it on, everything felt good. It felt right in place. The D-pad, the buttons, the shoulders, even though they're mushy feeling, I actually do enjoy how everything feels before you turn it on. And so I found myself getting excited. I'm like, this gotta be a hit, right? As soon as I turn this on, it's just gonna blow me away. And the 28XX didn't, but this just feels a lot better to me. Now, there's some key things missing if you're paying attention. There is no HDMI output anywhere, and there's no headphone jack. But the main feature that I care about with this device is Wi-Fi, and thankfully it has Wi-Fi, except it apparently just doesn't matter, really, at all for this device. Like my review of the 28XX, this device doesn't feel uncomfortable or weird to hold. Once again, if you're going to be holding it for hours and hours, then yeah, definitely. But for pick up and play sessions and all of that, this actually feels very comfortable. It's not ergonomic or anything like that, but I mean, it's comfortable enough. So I'm actually enjoying using it. And then we turn the device on. And I was trying to get accustomed to the operating system once again, because I haven't used a non-Onion OS Miyoo Mini or Miyoo Mini Plus in forever. So just getting accustomed to where and how things work on this stock operating system. And this is where things just went completely downhill. Taking it outside on a bright sunny day, the same way that I did with the 28XX, and you really can't see much of anything. So exact same scenario as the 28XX, and again, it's not specific to these two. Most of these handhelds just don't do well outside and just kind of sharing the experience here. So as I started to navigate the operating system and check out settings and apps and all of that sort of thing, I noticed a few things. First, the up on my D-pad only seems to want to work occasionally. It takes some time off, and it's like, man, I don't want to do that right now, but I'll do this one. And it seems like every occasional input, it will just not go up, so that's great. I don't have a second model to test any of this with. And I wish I did, because I would love to know if these things that I'm experiencing and the things that we're going to talk about are all specific to this device or if it's just every single one. Second, despite the fact that this has Wi-Fi, which is a feature that I personally care about for retro achievements as well as a lot of other things if we get custom firmware, it actually doesn't seem to work with retro achievements at all. For some odd reason, it keeps saying you're not logged in, and no matter what I've tried, which is editing the config file directly, editing in the actual firmware, and all the sorts of tricks that I'm used to, none of it got it working, so no retro achievements for me. Now, there's a lot of you out there that don't care about Wi-Fi or retro achievements, and that's perfectly fine. But do you care about your games actually playing well? Specifically, do you care about paying $50 for a device that can't play Super Nintendo? That's where we're at. So here's a fun one. I'm booting up Super Nintendo and play Yoshi's Island, for example. Intro doesn't play at full speed. That's great. Then I go and play a ROM hack for Super Nintendo, a Plumber for All Seasons. Load it up and also does not play at full speed. Suddenly, I go and play other games, and even Super Mario World at certain levels just felt off and not full speed. And it was at that point where I'm like, questioning my life as a reviewer of retro handhelds and why I decided to do this and why I'm trying to get Super Nintendo to work on a device in 2024. But the kicker to all of this is right now you're seeing the most current firmware as of this video, which is the April 27th build as well as the May 1st SD card contents. And on that firmware and SD card contents combination, whatever, none of this works. Super Nintendo, all of that, just not playing well. However, on the previous build, I was able to get Super Nintendo working if you push the menu button while you're playing the game. So I would load up a game, push the menu button, and magically it would fix Super Nintendo and get it running properly. For some reason, that does not work anymore on the most current firmware or SD card contents. And so we're back to it not being great. And yes, I'm aware of the video filter setting. That is off. It's not on, so don't worry. It's not on. Look, I have no idea what's happening here, and I just don't care enough to figure out why Super Nintendo isn't working well. And that was kind of the kicker into why I stopped caring about reviewing this device at all. Because it just gets even worse. The entire thing feels slow. I've had crashes, I've had freezes, I've had just an awful experience with this software and firmware, and none of it makes me want to continue doing it. If that wasn't all enough, it actually gets really hot. I have been filming for 13 minutes. I'm staring at it right now. This back here is actually warm already. 13 minutes. I'm just on the home screen, not doing anything. It's just there. And warm, and it'll get hot if we leave it for another 20 minutes or so. It's not even doing anything. You can't even play Super Nintendo. What are you getting warm about? Then we get to the battery, and I can't. The battery doesn't last an hour and a half. Tried playing games. An hour and a half, longest I could get. Just dies at that point. Who ships this out? Are you listening to you? Why would you ship this out? Why waste my time with this? Look, I could go on and on and on about this. How arcade is misspelled in the firmware, which is a little thing. Or how on this newest update, you can't load games on the default theme that it shipped with. I had to go to the Onion theme to be able to load games. A little bug like that. Couldn't load games. Change the theme, suddenly it works. Or the fact that there's like a buzzing / high-pitched screech that comes out of the device while you're playing and all that sort of thing. And there is so much to this. So if Onion OS ever comes to this device or some other custom firmware that completely overhauls and fixes this, I will re-review it and re-review it properly, because right now this is just a waste of my time. I left it for 2 weeks, I think. I've had this for 2 weeks. I went to do other things just because I had other things first, and then I came back to it. I'm like, hopefully at this point things are fixed or better or something along those lines, but they're not. So it even got a little bit of a pass in ways that I never ever do by waiting a little bit through no choice of my own, but it still didn't get better. It got worse. So that's all from me today. For the people that are going to defend this device, good for you. I hope you enjoy it. And Glad that we're contributing to devices being released in this state by defending products like this. To everybody else, don't buy this, at least not yet. There is no reason to. A few hundred were released at some point, and I guess more are coming, but if it's going to still be in this state with these issues, no, don't buy this. As usual, this is a death by software device, although again, there are a few hardware related issues. It's a whole thing. That's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord and chat with us. Support me on Patreon if you like my videos. And thanks to everybody that already is, and hope you all have a good one.